Amanda Land.
So I was going to talk about the Dems, but what I'd really like you to talk about is the work that you do. Because when you sit here and you say, I don't have no money, and you say, you need to be working, that means that not enough people know what you do. Because it's not enough to know the right people. People need to actually know what you're about. I love when people say, like, oh, it's who you know. It's not who you know. It's who knows. It's not only who you know, it's also who knows what you about. So I'm going to give you the stage. And I would love for you to speak to folks on where your mindset is in terms of the work that you do. And I feel like people like you and I in this time are imperative because you've always been the same person. You have always been the person who is rallying folks together. The first time I met Rosa, I was at an event where they were trying to get insurance for hip hop artists. Y'all were trying to create health insurance for hip hop artists. I remember I was there with Immortal Technique.
Immortal Technique, Omar Wally out of Wally at Hunter College, and the organization was GAME.
I'm pretty sure I have a picture with me and Tech from that event in this same file that I found this picture of me and Tego Calderon. So I'm going to give you the stage, Rosa, because I want people to know about you, what you do, about your credentials, because there's a whole doctor right here. And when someone like J.D. Vance says that professors are the enemy, that means that those of us who have the knowledge need to speak louder. So you have the stage to do so.
I appreciate you, sis. So yeah, like I was saying, fam, a lot of my academic work, but my whole being is about me as a person of African descent, Afro-Boricua, Black Latinx, and all of that stuff. I particularly, for 20 years, have always identified myself as a Black Puerto Rican and have passed that down to my daughter. Definitely for decades, I've been out organizing and movement building, especially all the years I lived in New York City. It was a great time. We were fighting against the Rockefeller drug laws. We were trying to get police out of schools, trying to make sure that our institutions survived and all that. And now I'm at a point in my life where I am going back into the classroom and I want to teach and I want to mentor young people. I don't think my generation, the hip hop generation, has done good enough around mentoring young people and like creating a cadre of young people. And also young people who don't just listen and take everything I say 100 or anybody else says. I want young folks to have an analysis, to understand concepts, and all the isms that we face. I think like many folks out there, in 2008, I was the vice presidential candidate on the Green Party ticket. Cynthia McKinney was the presidential candidate. We were to date the only woman of color ticket in American presidential politics. But after that went down, it really showed me people who I've always had their back and said would always have my back. Once I said yes to running for vice president on the Green Party ticket, a lot of people that I thought were comrades cut me off. To this day, they don't speak to me. I don't speak to them. Thank you, and chat. Thank you. So I graduated from Cornell University, and now, 12 years later, I can't get a job. So I decided to go back to school. I got recruited to get my PhD at UMass Amherst in the W.E.B. Du Bois department. And I was also like, needed time to decompress and understand what happened and to kind of let go of a lot of anger that I had towards people. So I've been finishing my dissertation for years because right when I moved to Los Angeles to get my pre-doctoral fellowship was when a year after Trayvon had happened, that's when also Ferguson was Ferguson had just happened. And Talib Kweli and some Jessica Care Moore, we got together and we were like, we need to go to Ferguson because what I was seeing in Ferguson was real different. I've gone to so many protests that sometimes they're so scripted and performative, but I knew once I touched down in Ferguson, this was a whole different level of people. These are like the cats in the street, the sets, those that have been kicked out of school, the violence of the St. Louis police department, the Ferguson department. And I really viewed that moment as a new moment for young people coming into the movement. Unfortunately, what happened is a lot of people use Ferguson. There's a lot of people out here making millions of dollars while they have let Ferguson people left them and have not supported them. And I didn't want to do that. So I stay connected. But what I realize is that too many of us are depending on voting to get us free. Voting does not free us. Voting is a tactic to use. But at the moment that we're in right now, I'm gonna tell you all this. I didn't predict that Trump was going to win. I know electoral politics in and out. I was like, this dude's going to win the first time. Because I was here in Albany, New York, only 2.5 hours from New York City. Doesn't mean that New York City folks, they aren't Trump people, but there were a lot of Trump signs. And then he won, right? And now he wins again. He's now a convicted felon, but he also he has immunity for any act that he does from the Supreme Court. I think that if we don't rise up right now at this moment in any way we can, this country may never, ever have elections again. And just read and see what happens in fascist states. So remember that he wasn't supposed to win the first time, and he did. Then he lost. He incited an insurrection. And then he ran again, and the Democrats, who are horrible, nothing for our people, just like people are tired. But now this is the time that we must stand up. So what I do now, I know what role I'm going to play in the future. I know the work that I have done. I know what my ancestors want me to do, right? But I also know that organizing is not going to happen on social media. And just because there's been a generation of organizers and activists that have been on the cover of Vogue or in on the Oscar stage or
At the
making
Met
Gap
Ball.
commercials, the Met Ball, that visibility is not representation. And we need to stop saying that. And that's the reason we got mad Black and Latino elected Democrats who have completely abandoned our entire communities. For me, well, what I've seen with this new generation is that they can sway an election. And Harris may have won if she did the right thing around Gaza. She did not take those young people seriously, right? So she made a choice to be with Liz Cheney, whose father is Dick Cheney, who is like Trump double to Satan in real life. Fam, we got to be prepared. But I'll tell you this too, Amanda. I don't think we have national movements, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there's been a lot of distrust, no infrastructure, too much dependence on electoral politics, and way too much nonprofit money, right? So we can't do something big every day, but we can do something every day. My clarion call is wherever you're at, that's where you organize. And you don't have to be in the streets. You could be an incredible producer and volunteer your time. You could be an incredible artist and volunteer your time. You could be an actor, a comedian, a banker from 9 to 5. All I know is that we're in full off fascism. And with him saying he's going to take over Gaza, he's putting this entire country at war with the rest of the world. The fact that this dude, I don't even ever say his name right, Netanyahu, Huno, whatever, is here while there's a criminal arrest warrant from the ICC, which was started to hold the Nazis accountable in Nuremberg for what they did in the Holocaust. This dude's in the White House. He should be in handcuffs. And so Trump just said the American Riviera. Let's be ready, fam. Every day it's a bad, not going to say the curse, but get ready. Because if you think you're immune because of your degree, your politics or whatever, yeah, that don't exist anymore. This dude's coming hard. Amanda, you know that
Yes.
Elon Musk is living in one of the buildings, the government buildings,
Mm-hmm.
with his family,
Mm-hmm.
living in a government building with his family. He's running the country.
Yes. And he was going to have an office, but Trump's chief of staff didn't allow him to have the office in the White House. We have some questions for folks. Now I know I only asked you to come on for 20 minutes, but if you riding, like I said,
When you ready to kick me out, I'm here, girl.
Cynthia Perez says, and thank you all because I am from the Caribbean. I believe in a certain level of formality. When we have guests, we address them properly. All right? We're not just throwing question up in the air like this. Okay? We have Dr. Clemente here. You're going to address the question to Dr. Clemente. All right? Because all you do is just forget how to conduct yourself. So let me remind you, Dr. Clemente.
Yes.
What can we do to stop the billionaire Essentia Tourist Project, an environmental disaster in Puerto Rico with the government we have now?
So as usual, we don't get a good governor who's right leaning, Trump's friend, and all of that, who wants Puerto Rico to be a 51st state, and that's their fantasy. It's never going to happen. Right now, there are movements all over Puerto Rico beginning to deal with Essentia and some other tourist project. From what I'm hearing on the ground is that in all of his shows, Bad Bunny is going to bring people from the island, young people that are doing work to stop this, to stop trying to privatize beaches, because in Puerto Rico, no beach is private. But what these white folks are doing is building like little like fences, but also they destroyed a lot of the tortoises that that come ashore as they're becoming huge, right? Turtles and stuff. Like they were like, you need to move the turtles, and people sat there for like 4 days and like, you ain't moving these turtles. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna happen. But when Bad Bunny does that, brings out that will also put the diaspora, those of us who don't live on the island, on
Yeah.
alert. So people from who are Boricuas, sometimes some have even never gone to Puerto Rico or can't afford it. And I would say, don't matter. You're Puerto Rican. Don't buy into that colonized mindset that says you're not a really a Boricua. You're going to go to Puerto Rico and your family's going to make fun of you because you have a different accent. But that's not how we roll. That's white supremacy trying to divide us. So I think with Bad Bunny doing that, I think all these projects are going to stop. And there are a couple big things happening from what I hear. And when we can talk about it, we will talk about it. There's an underground. There's always an underground.
All right, next pregunta. Andrietta says, Dr. Clemente, look into Brotherhood Sister Soul. I'm sure you probably know about Brotherhood Sister
Of
Soul.
course.
Of course. We all know.
Incredible.
I think we all know about.
Yeah.
Do you know Nando Rodriguez?
Yes, I do.
I went to purchase with Nando. Just so y'all know, Nando, who's worked with Brotherhood Sister Soul from day one, Nando was the person who got me into hosting. He used to be in student activities at SUNY Purchase, and they would do this thing called the Elon Night, and it was kind of like a talent show. And he came to me and was like, "Yo, like, would you ever want to host this?" I was like, "I don't even know what that means." And he was like, like, we give you like, this is the run of the show, and then you just kind of like keep the crowd engaged and whatnot. And I was like, all right. And that was my first time ever hosting. And then I went on to, I'm a vet. I'm a veteran now.
I didn't know you went to SUNY Purchase. For people that don't know, that's the State University of New York. I went to Albany, but Purchase is known for performing arts and emerging artists. It's a great campus.
I went to Purchase as an acting major, and then some funny stylists went down. I ended up leaving the conservatory. Well, I got kicked out of the conservatory. And then they tried to kick me out of the entire school. And I appealed it. And then they didn't have a Black Studies major, but I created a Black Studies major so that I would stay in school. I really didn't want to stay, but then I was told I needed to stay. By the way, this is the night I met you.
Oh, you found it.
Y'all know I don't throw nothing away.
Immortal Tech.
This is the night I met you. Literally.
He never
Look
smiles.
at my face.
He never smiles. I'm like,
I'm not taking the picture if he's not smiling. He always tries to give like, I'm on the front lines. And I'm like, take a smiling picture with me. You're happy to be here. So this is the homie. Shout out to Immortal Technique. Oh, wait, where'd you go? Okay, there you are. One more question. Dr. Clemente, in your organizing experience, who do we build true trust? How do we build true trust when we don't know each other's world? We need that trust, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, that comes with doing the work together. Like I was telling the audience before, when I ran for vice president and lost, or people stopped talking to me, it took me a long time to trust anything or anybody.
Really?
It really messed me up. But
Tell me more about that, because I went through something similar last year.
Yeah, so I ran for Green Party in 2008. My assumption coming out of the political hip hop convention is, Cynthia asked me, I'm like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I was not in a good place when my sister took us in. And I was like, I ain't working, so let's go. Let's run to be vice president. But as soon as the announcement came, I had people that I had gone to like jail with, protested. Some of my elders basically were like, you'll never work again. Nobody wants you on any panels. This is
Why?
that because Obama was running. And I'm not talking about just like liberal. I'm talking about like people who like, we never vote. And then they're like, but we're voting for Obama. Right. So particularly in the hip hop activist movement,
I relate so
I was dead
much.
it. I was dead it. And that's why I ended up going to UMass, because my professor, who's also part of one of my political circles, was like, you need to go to school. You need to process everything that happened,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So for me,
I
I've always
literally spent this morning talking to Mark Lamont Hill about my PhD because I'm going back next year.
also, because he got his when he was 26. He's like a genius.
I
I'm like,
know. He's a geek.
I love Mark. He is
Dweeb!
so um but then I decided I'm not changing who I am. I just have to be more discerning. But I'm not going to let someone
There
take
you
away
go.
from that. And also, when Pam Africa of the Move family calls you and says, it doesn't matter, you've been consistent your entire life,
Yeah.
you're going to be good.
Yeah.
But again, discerning, like I'm 52, I don't need no more friends. You know what I'm saying?
Sis,
I'm like,
right?
I'm good.
But you know what's one of my favorite quotes from Paulo Coelho? The author of, for those who don't know, the author of The Alchemist. Trust everyone, but never sell your sword. And I know that in his version, it's like never sell your sword, like don't get hired to be a sellsword. But in my version, the sword is actually a cutlass, a machete. And what it's really saying is trust everyone until it's time to cut them off.
Yeah.
And that's the discernment.
And lastly, I'll say this too. People have to understand that in movement work, all of it is already infiltrated, right?
Tell it.
I
Speak on this.
I have a knack for finding out who are the disruptors and the agents. Because I saw it in Katrina and I called it out, and people call me crazy. And 5 years later, his name is Brandon Derby. He wrote an essay about he was an FBI informant put on the ground in New Orleans right after the hurricane. When I was in Albany, New York, for those that don't know, this young brother from West Africa, Amadou Diallo, was shot 41 times.
Yes.
Back when that shooting happened, it was the most bullets we had ever seen. I was living in Albany, New York, and I'm like, I got to get the F out of here. Like, I have to get out of here. I can't be here anymore. My boyfriend proposed to me, and then his pregnant girlfriend came to my house. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how that's going to go. And I was like, I got to get out of
No
here.
me gusta.
So the Diallo tribe got moved up here to Albany. So then my ancestor, Richie Perez in Panama Alba, one's alive. Richie has passed from the young lords were like, that's why you're staying there. And we started the campaign for 6 weeks. But there was, the verdict was coming. We had gotten one of these white girls to work in City Hall. And every night she would come and tell us what they were preparing to do when the verdict came down, right? Because we all were like, it's going to be not guilty. It's 4 white cops, Albany, New York, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're having our last organizing meeting. This white boy, his name was Christian. He's like, yo, who's bringing the guns?
This is the white boy?
Yeah, at the meeting.
This is my thing. If the white boy don't turn up with the guns, but you asking that to me is a discernment. The white boy has to show up with the guns and say, these are my guns that I am distributing.
Right.
It can't be which one of y'all.
And I was like,
that's
all right, Christian. So my homie, Victoria, we look at each other. The meeting's over. I was like, yo, we need to follow him right now. I'm like, dude, this is the setup. He's gonna when the verdict is not guilty, and we're standing in the middle of the street facing horses while New York City starts to pop off in the city, and we know we're going to get arrested. This dude is talking about guns. We follow him. He tells us he's a student at a college. So we follow him in the car to the bus stop, and the DT rolls up and they were like, come in, like this. So 7 days later, the verdict came down, not guilty. It's pouring rain. It's like crazy. We line up to start our protest. He shows up. I look at him. I go to the police sergeant, the white shirt lieutenant, who we had to have like negotiations with, because the verdict was coming down. And he's Irish. I'm like, Lieutenant Flannery, yeah, he's an agent and he's talking about guns. And he said, what? Oh, hell no. They removed him. A lot of you not. About 18 months later, I'm in DC at an MLK event, huge, huge event. I'm walking out, signing. Well, hey, Rosa. I said, Christian, what's your name now? What agency are you working for? He looked at me and left. I never seen him again. I got that little bruja thing in me. Like,
what you mean somehow?
Well, because I know all the brujas that are real, they do the work, but I've always been
No, but that's the thing. It's like it's in you. You just haven't like cultivated it. I'm the same way. I have the bruja in me, but I feel like I haven't done enough work to really like lock it in. But
so the story was be discerning.
Yep.
But again, if you're an organizer movement person, if you love your people, don't let anyone take that away from you. Just be clear. Like, we already know about COINTELPRO. Like, our phones and all of that are surveillance things, so it's a different way of organizing. It's not the same. It makes it harder, but it's not the same.
So I got stuck under a very large mirror in my house doing too much. And I had to like get my way out from under this mirror, and I didn't have my phone. And so people were like, you need to have an Alexa in your room. And because I live by myself. So they were like, you need to have an Alexa that if anything ever happens to you, you could be like, Alexa, call 911, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a sale. This was like a Black Friday sale, and they had Alexas on sale for like $17. So I got me 5 Alexas only for people to be like, girl, you just invited the FBI into your house. Like, so y'all, if anybody wants an Alexa, I didn't hook them up. They're just here in boxes because then I forgot to return them. So I have a bunch of FBI Alexas in my house.
I know you do. They already know.
I know.
You know they already
Literally,
know.
when I'm texting people, I'm like, so if you're watching this, what I meant was da 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 da.
Right.
So what's next? And so I put there, people can follow you here. What would be your next step if you had your way? For you.
I'm finishing dissertation, getting back in the classroom. I want to teach and mentor. I'm in the 3rd phase of my life around activism and organizing. I think for me, it took a minute to, really know what I wanted to do. I wasn't raised in a movement household. The movement raised me, so I've always stuck through some things that are probably not healthy for me, kind of thing. And I'm good. Like, I've always been a teacher, so like I said, back in the classroom and fighting the good fight around Black studies, because they're coming after us, whether you're in higher ed, private or public, they're coming after us. Like, they're going after students, they're coming after professors, but there's always some way to get back in there. And I know that's what my role is now. And I'm 100% okay with that. And continue to do the little bit of media I do tonight is my show, weekly Disrupted Chaos. We get into deep, deep stuff. And then on Thursday, I have my show.
Where can people watch Disrupted Chaos?
Oh, sorry. Disrupted Chaos. You can see me on YouTube. I stream StreamYard on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
What's the address? YouTube?
So YouTube is Rosa Clemente. And then Instagram is Black, like the whole word, Black Puerto Rican PhD.
And when do you do Disrupted Chaos?
7 p.m. Eastern time.
Is it every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday, yep. Tonight I'm going to have one of our former political prisoners, Jalil Muntikin, that finally is out for now 4 or 5 years after spending 50 years in a prison for being a member of the Black Liberation Army. And then on Thursday, I do my Can't Stop Our Blackness, where I specifically focus on Afro-Black Latinx identity. Not every person's going to identify as Afro or Black, but the work they're doing as a Latino, I bring them on, but really it is to specifically talk about Afro-Black Latinx in the United States, because most of the work around that is centered on Latin America and Central America. The Caribbean sometimes gets left out, but what is often really left out is us who were born here, grew up in hip hop or in the Bronx around other people. We may never have been to our homeland, so our resistance is here in the United States.
And that's on Thursdays at 7?
Yeah, Thursdays at 7 p.m. as well. Yep.
Okay. So there's no shortage. I see people in the comments are resonating with you. They're like, oh my God. Now you know. You can check out Dr. Rosa Clemente on Wednesdays. Okay, you can check her out on Wednesdays with Disrupted Chaos at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at Rosa Clemente. Okay. On Thursdays, you can check out Can't Stop Our Blackness. It's black, y'all, because we black, y'all. We blickety black negro, y'all.
Yeah.
That's Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. And you can follow Dr. Rosa Clemente on Instagram at Black Puerto Rican PhD. We did it.
Girl, I love you. And I know everybody knows how brave you are, but I think I've always felt a kinship with you, because even in the hardest times, we have stayed true to who we are. And I know you know that, but I hope you really, really do know that, because you are incredibly important. And the things that you stood up for, most people couldn't have done what you did. I mean, they try to stop your career and you didn't let them.
Thank you. Today I was like, sometimes, because I think we're also people who are really about it. We are constantly asking ourselves, are we doing enough? Right? Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough? And I'm, of course, watching what's going on and saying to myself, okay, so when is one of these specific things that's happening going to hit you? Like, when is it going to hit you? When is it going to hit you? And then I had to remember, ma'am, you've been hit all last year. Like, they was hitting you first. They was hitting you first. I mean, I literally left LA because for many reasons, but also like my neighbor 2 houses down was spreading propaganda about me. So I just say that, thank you for your commitment and your consistency. And I really, when I tell you I relate to you about people just betraying, people really deciding that politics is like, it's not to say that politics shouldn't determine who's in your personal group, but when you preserve politicians over your personal group, that's when people are misguided. Because at this point, we should know that politicians within the American construct of politics are not here for the people. And there's a few that try to get in there and be about that, but they're going to need to go. They're going to need to get out of there if they really want to be about it. I don't think like when I see Democrats like Summer Lee and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley, I'm like, y'all actually care about the people. You're Democrats because there was no other option to really be a part of this Congress, but it's time to go.
And it is time, I think, and with AOC, I think what they all forgot is there's a difference between running for office and then governing. And what happened to the squad is exactly what Nancy Pelosi created. From the beginning, she's like, we're going to have to marginalize them in a group of 435 people. And she did that effectively, kind of thing. And then lastly, my sister always says this, which she always says, money reveals who you are.
Yep.
And if people have all that money and they're doing the nefarious things or like destroying their own people, it comes back, and not like on some snippy, snarky thing. What will you do when you don't have that money? Who will you be?
Yep.
Who will be by your side?
I know
that I'm gonna be by your side, you're gonna be by my side, and we're gonna have our comrades, and that's what matters, and that's what's important. And I really appreciate you bringing me on here and introducing me to your audience. And I'm so happy that you are doing the damn thing. I love small doses. I love the
Thank you.
layout of it. I found it so fascinating in a new book, and I just already pre-ordered the new one. So
Yay! Thank you, Rosa.
and
Thank you
as we
so
say,
much.
Amanda, we say as Boricuas, bendición, blessings to you.
Bendición, blessings to you. Y'all give it up for Rosa Clemente.
Yay!
Thank you, Rosa.
I'll be back.
You'll be
Thank
back.
you.
I enjoyed laughing and learning with you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell your friends. Also, listen to the podcast. It's available everywhere pods are casted. Listen ad-free by subscribing to Patreon Amanda Seals. Come on and join the Seals Squad. Views from Amandaland, live 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday, with content on Thursday and Friday at YouTube Amanda Seals TV. Smart, funny, and